Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 video. So, I said yesterday that I was hoping to be speaking about something a little bit more positive next time, and good news, we have a whole bunch of good news today. So, I'm going to kick this off first off by following on from yesterday's video. So, yesterday it became clear that the Flamethrower Trap, as it currently is on the public test server, is not breaking objects in people's camps, causing problems with the ability to sort of merge things and push things closer together, all the stuff that we usually use breaking stuff with the Flamethrower Trap for. Bethesda have responded to this and said that this is a bug, it's not part of the plan, and they are currently working on a fix for it. So, the confirmation there is that, yes, they're not trying to remove this particular piece of functionality. I don't want to say feature, because it's more of a bug, but anyway. It's not something they're trying to change, it's not meant to be changing, and they are taking steps to make sure that when this goes live, it isn't a problem. Hopefully they will succeed in that, but yeah, good news. Obviously, a lot of noise been made here on YouTube, a lot of noise been made on Discord, and a lot of noise been made on Reddit as well. Has caught the attention of the people that it needed to catch the attention of, and they are on it and solving this problem, which is great. That's, you know, that's what it's all about, isn't it? So I will be pulling down my video on the subject from yesterday because it's obviously now obsolete, and is just going to get people up in arms about something they needn't be worried about. So, yeah, really pleased to see that Bethesda have dived in and solved this issue. Post on the Discord about it, so all things being equal, we should be good when the update goes live, and it should be, at least as far as camp building is concerned, business as usual, which is great. Moving on, we got a bunch of new information coming out of Gamescom in the last couple of days regarding Fallout 76 and subsequent updates. So, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but I'll say it again. The legendary crafting changes are absolutely going to be coming with Milepost 0. It seemed very likely anyway, but it's only in the last few days that they've actually hard and fast said it's in that update. So, there's a little reminder for you if that's the case. At an interview a couple of days ago at Gamescom, which was kind of buried in Bethesda's live streams, John Rush did say that this was expected to be a longer development period on the PTS for legendary crafting, and it's implied as such in the patch notes. It sounds like their intention was probably to put it out in December, but combination of feedback and stuff just going well, I guess, has resulted in it being basically ready to go much sooner than they were initially expecting, so it's going to go into the Milepost 0 update, hence we'll be getting it in a couple of weeks. So that's where that stands, but it leads into a couple of things, because we've got a couple of features coming later on this year and into next year. You'll probably be aware of where I'm going to go with this, but we've got new information. And all of this ties together with the legendary crafting to be the sort of latest round of changes and enhancements, that sort of thing, to the endgame experience. Obviously, we've had a number of changes to the Fresh Out of the Vault experience recently. We've had the new area to explore with Skyline Valley, new features to get stuck into. There's Milepost 0 obviously coming, and the new storyline in Skyline Valley that's been out this summer. So it's an ongoing combination of stuff to enhance the existing game and improve the endgame experience, add to it, and refresh it, which is what a lot of this stuff ties into. So, in December, probably, end of year holiday period, there will be the Gleaming Depths update, which we've had mentioned at Gamescom. It was initially revealed there. It's the full title being Raids the Gleaming Depths. So a couple of things we can take out of that, and also from Gamescom here. It is a raid-based thing. Now, as I've mentioned before, Bethesda have tried to put raid-type content into Fallout 76 before, and it hasn't worked out. This is another crack at it. Hopefully this one will. Obviously, things like daily ops, and to a certain extent expeditions as well, are a response to their initial efforts to create raids that didn't work out, so they did something different. This is another attempt at doing it in a way that hopefully will work. We'll see. The other thing you can tell from the title that they didn't say here is by calling it Raids, the Gleaming Depths, that basically tells us that there will be other raids on down the line that are in other locations, so it'll be raids, something that isn't the Gleaming Depths, at some point in the future, maybe next summer or this time next year, something like that. These things take time after all, and we haven't even got the first one yet, so. But yeah, that's kind of a cool thing. Assuming this all works out according to plan, then the intention obviously will be to expand on it down the line, or at least that's the implication from the name anyway. So, yeah, what have we got about this? So, it's going to be hard in-game content, is what John Rush has said about it. John Rush being the creative director on 76 at the moment. You might have seen him popping up in interviews and panels and things recently, particularly the last year or so. Nice chap, got to meet him earlier this year, very cool. basically this is intended to be hard content for the most powerful characters in the game. So they're talking about level 50 as being where you get into the end game stuff, and it kind of is and it kind of isn't. But obviously this is post-level 50 content, and it's going to be group-centric from the sound of things, which I have questions and issues potentially with. Things I want to know more about. Obviously, we'll be finding out more between now and December when the update comes out. They want to do Milepost Zero, and then the focus will shift to the Gleaming Depths. So they've talked about it requiring cooperation and being group-centric, and obviously for people who play alone generally, or their mates play other games or whatever, that sort of thing, begs the question, how are they going to tackle this content if they want to, if it's so group-centric? So hopefully they'll put some mechanism in place, much like with most of the group-centric content, wherein you can get a group together via either the public team system, which seems likely, or it'll maybe function like a public event, and an announcement will go out to draw other players in, so you can sort of team up on the fly in that way, much like with, say, dropping a nuke or something like that, or public events in general. There's certain things that you can trigger and people tend to jump in. Encrypted would be a good example. So I'm guessing they'll go that way. I hope they'll do something like that, otherwise they'll be shutting out people who tend to play alone, which is awkward. Obviously, for the people who play alone on a private server, those people will have to jump in with other people if they want to do it. Unless, of course, it turns out to be a bit more viable solo. However, the next point is that it requires coordination, tactical coordination and timing, which is what both John Rush and Rob, one of the community managers, said in this panel. So if it requires timing, sounds like either doing things in a specific order in succession or being in multiple places at once. In either case, it probably is going to require more than one player to be able to, for want of a better way of putting it, hit the appropriate buttons. So sounds like this will not be something that is soloable from this particular description of it, but we'll see. I get the vibe that it's literally going to be you'll have to be in two places at once. So, I mean, we haven't got our hands on it yet, so we'll find out in the coming months, probably in October, I would guess it will hit the PTS, maybe late September. We'll see. The other question, of course, regarding timing is, what about people who don't have microphones and things like that? Are they going to need to communicate with other players on the fly? And if they don't have microphones, they won't be able to? My hunch is probably not. I would guess that it will be a standard strategy that will come together and people will know what to do, and you'll just go and do it at the appropriate time. Obviously, you'll have to learn that strategy, but I suspect it'll all be all over YouTube. Hi. And all over Reddit and elsewhere as well, in order to make sure people do know what they're doing. So I don't think that communication will be too much of an issue with that, at least not once you've run it a couple of times and got it figured out. We're now getting confirmation of the rewards, or at least in a general categorization kind of way, at the end of the Gleaming Depths as well. And this is a big one, because this is something that has been talked about before. They didn't manage to make it happen in a way that was satisfying, worthwhile, and even remotely balanced. That's still up in the air and a little ambiguous, that point, the balance one. But yeah, this is something that has been discussed extensively by both players and the dev team for a while, and that is 4-star legendaries will be the reward at the end of these raids. So you get through it and you get the ability to get 4-star weapons, armor, and power armor. The ins and outs of how you attach an extra star, how this whole thing is going to work, the actual mechanics of that are still completely ambiguous. They haven't mentioned it at all. Just that 4-star legendaries are the pot of gold at the end of this particular rainbow. Hopefully it's going to be a little more substantial than that, but you know. That is very, very cool. 4-star legendaries. Awesome. Keep it here and I will bring you more details as and when we get them. Of course, we've also got that massive snake boss at the end of it that looks very Elder Scrolls to me, but that'll be interesting to see how that goes as well. So, the last thing to talk about is the playable ghoul that we know is arriving as an update next year, most likely around about March, but, you know, they won't say when December update is, so there's no way they're saying when the March one is yet, are they? But anyway, we do have some new details about this that John Rush kindly shared at Gamescom, which is really cool. We have, obviously, we know that it's going to be an end-game feature. You'll have to be level 50 plus to become a ghoul. That was reiterated. The idea is to give players a new way to play and refresh the experience to a degree as well, going with the other bits that they're doing as well. We'll go through a quest which will teach us about becoming a ghoul and the pros and cons thereof, because there will be advantages and disadvantages. And at the end of that, you'll get the option to transform should you want to. If you decide being a ghoul is not for you, because the cons maybe outweigh the pros for you, you will be able to revert to human at no extra cost. There's supposed to be a sort of in-universe explanation for how this works. No details on that yet, but we'll find out, I guess. To align with that, they're also going to be making adjustments to the human category, class, whatever, players, the human player type, in order to further separate those two roles, so the ghoul and the human, to make it a bit more distinct from each other. So the way we're playing now will probably get maybe some pros, maybe some cons, to sort of contrast more with the ghoul play style in probably March, when this update arrives. So more details likely to arrive, well, they'll come in dribs and drabs between now and then, but most likely in the early part of next year. So, a little more elaboration here on cool features that the ghoul will have. We now know that there are 32 new ghoul-only perks that will be coming with this update, so if you're a ghoul, you'll get access to an additional 32 perks. This is in addition to existing perks, so it sounds like, at least currently, you won't be shut out of using existing perks. Technically speaking, certain ones will become rather pointless, like rad resistance, stuff like that. There will be no benefit to having rad resistance, but you can do it if you want. Don't know why you would, but anyway. Well, maybe people come up with some cunning plan for it. There's certainly going to be some interesting interpretations there, I think. One of the things they have said is that they don't want ghouls to be disproportionately powerful or more powerful than human players, just a different approach to human players. They want it to balance, is basically what it means. You know, the complications of doing that notwithstanding, that does raise a question of exactly how these extra ghoul-only perks will work if without, you know, making you exponentially more powerful or something. So it seems likely, and this is just speculation, but it seems likely that you'll still have, as a ghoul, the same number of perk slots available as you do now, you know, maximum 15 per special attribute. And you just have to swap out, you just have more options to swap in and out rather than if you were a human, but you won't actually have more cards available to you. It seems to be the case, but obviously we wouldn't have to wait to find out. So we've got reconfirmation in this discussion about the effect of radiation on ghouls. Obviously they're immune to it, they are not harmed by radiation, this is part of the general law. How are they going to make that work? Well, amongst other things, exposing yourself to radiation will heal your injuries, for starters. So, you know, take health damage, a little radiation will push your rad meter up a bit, but your health will come rushing right back up to meet it, which is quite cool. He also said that higher radiation levels will be usable in conjunction with new ghoul abilities. Obviously, this is very vague. No idea what that will actually entail or be, but it sounds like, sort of, like the way high rads are useful to a bloodied player to fuel their build in a way. A similar thing will apply to ghouls, and they'll be able to take advantage of higher radiation exposure. So, again, more details later, but it's interesting to see how higher radiation levels will factor into gameplay and what that might entail. Obviously, having high radiation levels comes with the same problem it does with the bloodied build, which is you become very, very squishy. But it'll be interesting to see how this balances out and what goes on there. I'm looking forward to finding out more. Another little detail, ghouls apparently won't need to eat or drink, so the whole food option is not going to be a consideration. Now, John Rush said won't need to eat or drink. This is a guess, but if they're going to make that the case, I would guess that it also means you won't benefit from doing so. So things like, food buffs will not apply or affect ghouls. Presumably as a counterbalance to other ghoul-related special benefits. I would guess on that, but well, again, something that we'll need to find out more about on down the line. But if you don't particularly want to worry about keeping yourself fed all the time, that's certainly not a bad thing. Not that you have to anyway, but it has benefits, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Another really, really cool detail is that there is going to be a feral meter for ghouls, so a gauge to determine how close you are to going feral. And if you do go feral, something happens. So obviously they're not sharing the details on what yet. What that might be, I'm curious to hear your speculations on. Do let me know in the comments what you think that might imply. But a permanent feral state would not be a positive gameplay mechanic. So I don't think that will be the case. But it might be a temporary effect that makes you go nuts, perhaps? You go a bit berserk and lose control of your character, who starts running around attacking everything for a period of time, maybe, before the effect wears off? Or maybe it'll be something else entirely. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I really don't know how you can go feral but not have it be a permanent thing, because permanent, it's not really conducive to a positive game mechanic, I don't think. Unless they've got some brilliant idea that I can't think of, which is perfectly possible, but who knows. Definitely looking forward to finding out more about ghouls and exploring that on down the line in March, probably. Next year, anyway. So there's one other thing in here that I am curious about that they haven't really talked about, and that's the lore angle. Obviously, the lore around ghouls is a little bit weird in places. There's seems to be different types of ghouls and so on and so forth. If you look at the TV show, we've got examples of ghouls and feral ghouls and the relationship between those two things, which does not seem to be the same as the relationship between ghouls and feral ghouls in other places. In other places, there's no evidence to suggest that ghouls actually do go feral, despite the fear of it. Whereas there seems to be some evidence that that might be the case in the TV show. Obviously, this implies that you can go feral over time, the obvious fear. I mean, even if it can't happen, it's obvious why they'd be afraid of it happening. But it looks like it's going to be a thing, at least something of a feature in the 76 iteration of player ghouls. So how that ties to the lore and the vagaries and discrepancies and such in the wider Fallout canon is going to be interesting. Obviously, there are large chunks of stuff in Fallout 76 that are probably not part of the canon, and perhaps maybe unreliable narrator type details, you know. The one that leaps out to me is some of the crazy power armor skins that really don't make any sense with military hardware. Slocum's Joe bright pink power armor, stuff like that, anybody? Doesn't make sense on military hardware. So maybe this will be an element of that, and it'll be a bit weird, but who knows? I'm curious about how that's going to actually pan out as well. But we'll find out more when we get more information, which of course I will be bringing to you just as soon as I possibly can. So, on that note, that's everything we've got here. Obviously, all of this is tying together to create a refresh, an update, and a new version of the endgame experience. So the goal being to keep that fresh, I think, from the devs, which is interesting. Looking forward to trying out a lot of this stuff. 76 goes sort of up and down. I mean, any long period lifespan MMOs, stuff like that, they tend to do that, but it looks like there's some cool stuff on the horizon, and I'm looking forward to diving into it. And excellent news regarding the Flamethrower, of course, as well, so very, very happy about that. So, thank you guys for watching. Do hope you found this useful and informative and interesting. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the upcoming content and speculations and stuff. We'll see what happens. Should be cool. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider dropping likes and subs. I very much appreciate. Notification bell so you know when I upload. We'll keep you up to date with what we know, of course. If you get a chance, join us for live streams too, playing Fallout 76. We've got Fallout London on the go at the minute, which I'm thoroughly enjoying, and we're working through the Stalker games as well at the moment, ahead of Stalker 2 later on this year, so very, very much enjoying those. So do join us for the live streams just to get a chance. And yeah, if you want to support the channel a little bit further, we've got channel memberships down below as well, which I do appreciate. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.